this is the carbon cycle. I would give it 2 stars out of 5 for difficulty, because compared to the nitrogen cycle, it's quite easy. So we start with CO2 in the atmosphere, which accounts for 0.038% of the atmosphere, so it's not very much compared to nitrogen. And CO2 is transferred to plants by photosynthesis, which is the famous equation 6CO2 plus 6H2O makes 6O2 plus C6H12O6. And obviously the carbon in that equation is the 6CO2, which is going into the plant. The reverse of that, as most people know, is respiration, and this occurs in plants and animals, but for the sake of illustrative purposes, we've got an animal here respiring. And the equation is 6O2 plus C6H12O6 goes to 6CO2 plus 6H2O, and obviously the 6CO2 is coming out of the animal. Both plants and animals are converted into fossil fuels over a period of millions of years by a process called fossilization, and they are decomposed by a process called decomposition to make dead organic matter and excreta, and the microorganisms decomposing this organic matter are saprobiotic microorganisms, the same ones that we saw in the nitrogen cycle. So they secrete enzymes which digest insoluble reactants into soluble products which they can then absorb. And it's the aerobic respiration of these microorganisms that puts CO2 back into the atmosphere. Once it's back there, it can go into the ocean by a process called diffusion and carbonic acid formation. So the gas itself diffuses through the air and towards the sea, whereas to get into the sea itself it must combine with H2O, which is the water in the ocean, and make carbonic acid, which is H2CO3. So the equation is CO2 plus H2O goes to H2CO3, and then it's formed into its dissociative products, which are H plus and HCO3 minus. H plus is the big problem, really, because it can cause ocean acidity, which can then change the population of the ocean, because different species can adapt and can't adapt to the acidic conditions, because an increase in H plus concentration, anyone who takes A2 chemistry would know, an increase in H plus concentration would decrease pH because of the equation minus log to the base 10 H plus, which would make, because it's logarithmic, an increase makes a decrease. So the overall pH would be decreased, meaning an increase in acidity. Once the H2CO3 is in there, it can diffuse out again by diffusion, and plankton absorb carbon dioxide to make CaCO3 shells, which is limestone. Once they die and decompose, by a process called sedimentation, the CaCO3 or limestone will sediment at the bottom of the ocean and create a CaCO3 layer, which locks the carbon into the floor, and it can then not be released again. As I said before, fossil fuels are created by a process called fossilization, but as most of you will probably know, when they are burnt by a process called combustion, it releases CO2 into the atmosphere, and this causes a lot of problems. Well, it's thought to have caused a lot of problems to the greenhouse layer, and to the ozone layer and the greenhouse effect.